So, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. Today, we're bringing you something a little bit different. I'm filming a series of videos out here at a place, well, near Bland, Minnesota?
It's Bland, Missouri.
Missouri, yeah, Wisconsin.
That wasn't very
states.
funny.
No, not funny at all?
No, because then people don't know where we're at.
They have no idea where they are. Well, the lucky thing is they have you to introduce and let them know exactly where they are. This is David, the owner of the Gamers Ranch.
Yeah. First, thanks for coming down. I really appreciate you guys coming down and staying with us. And thanks for having me on video.
Can you give us a 30-second on exactly what this place is?
Sure. This place was designed and built by gamers for gamers. And I wanted to create a place that was in the country, but had gamers coming in from all over the country to come and play games and hang out and have a great time.
Yeah, so I've been down here with a group of industry friends. It has been the first time we've been able to connect, well, because the world shut down for a period, and so we've gotten together. There's over 2,000 games in the library that you can see behind me. There's kayaking and rafting and forestry activities. I went disc golf for a while.
It's basically everything that I love. So I tried to build this place just to bring all the hobbies that I enjoy and then have gamers come in and then share them with everybody.
Yeah, so needless to say, it's a really cool place. You should definitely check it out. That being said, he's basically booking up for the entirety of the season, so good luck coming.
And definitely, if you feel like this is the place for you, go on the website. There's a booking calendar. It's gamersranch.com. Check the booking calendar and book early.
We'll stick a link at the top of the video description. This isn't sponsored in any other way that I really like the guy and we've been hanging out all weekend. That being said, that's not the point of this video. You have a rotation of gamers that come through here.
Absolutely.
People that are digging into your personal collection of over 2,000 titles, of which you've told me you're probably a 75% completion rate.
I think so, even though I seem to fall further and further behind
the more
every
and more
month.
Games you get.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's about how it works. Everyone on the other side of the camera is going, yeah, we feel the pain. And all of this was started because you were running a company where every day during lunch break, you and the rest of the IT department, right?
IT. So we had... Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm excited about it.
Okay, sure.
You'd get together and play games as a group, as a community. And so that's where this collection spawned from.
Absolutely. I started out, I think I had a few hundred games, and then, I was working in the software company. We started hiring, developers. Developers tend to like board games. And so we started playing board games, and the collection just grew and grew.
So I honestly would venture to say, despite me having this channel, he might be a bit more of an experienced voice when it comes to ranking and rating and having a different perspective on games and the way they're used and the way you've used them and how people currently at the ranch are using them.
I would like to think that, but there's so many different people that come here and they play games so differently. Some people will come and they'll play Vital Lacerda games the entire time, and they'll hardly leave their chairs. And some people will come and they'll mix it up, a lot of party games. So people just play all kinds of games. It's really amazing.
That being said, he has narrowed it down to his top 10, which is why you're watching this video. So let's dive into the board game section of this. Let's talk about the games that you love and that you've seen people love. You gave me the premise. Now, you've thought about this a lot before I presented the idea about 3 days ago. But you gave me the premise. The very first thing you said was, oh gosh, I'll have to just think about the games I've had the most fun with. Is that still how you approach the list?
Yeah, and it's having the most fun with the people here. And so, I mean, if fun is the ultimate goal, then I'm going to judge it based on that. Because there's so many games, it's hard to break it down to a top 10, but these are the standouts.
Cool. All right, I'm excited. I have no idea your opinions on the games you've picked. I did just see you grab them all.
That's what I'm here for.
There's a few that you won't expect.
Yeah, okay, so number 10 is going to be Quicks.
Quicks, all right.
Everyone should be familiar with this game, or they should become familiar with this game.
I'm actually...
Not familiar?
I'm actually genuinely not. I have heard of it.
It is an amazing game. It's a roll and write. Okay. It's one of the simpler roll and writes, but what I notice is that it tends to capture people that don't know they're board gamers yet. So a lot of times we'll have groups down. There will be... some experienced board gamers. They might bring some friends. They might bring their family, their mom and their dad. And, after I get a chance to get to know them, I'll introduce this game. And so many people have come back and said, yeah, we play Quicks all the time now. Or, one of the moms get together with all of her friends and play quicks, and it's fun. It's pretty exciting. There's things to do on everybody's turn.
So I say it's a 2 to 5 player. What is, in the genre of roll and writes, you say this is simple, accessible.
Absolutely.
Is it like a gateway into the roll and
Oh,
write
it's
world?
absolutely gateway.
What are you doing in this game?
So in the game, when you're the start player, you're going to roll the dice. You can make certain combinations, and you check off. You basically have a couple of rows that go from 2 to 10 and from 10 to 2. And based on the dice color, you can start crossing numbers off. But once you cross a number off, you can never go to the left of that number and cross it off.
Okay.
And so the points you score at the end of the game are going to kind of go up a curve based on how many things you've crossed off.
Okay.
And so
you're just sort of it's number allocation, but you're just balancing that.
It's a better Yahtzee.
And it tickles that mental puzzle of where am I going to assign my resources.
Yeah.
And then the like point salad or point scoring at the end, where you think back and you go,
Sure.
I want to play that again because I feel like I could have done better.
And one thing about gateway is, I mean, it's a useful term and it's a great idea. But the thing is that if someone plays this and they never go on to anything else,
That's fine.
yeah, it's great. And when they come, I'll play it with them.
You'll still sit down and play quicks. I do know some gateway games that I probably wouldn't want to sit down and continue replaying. And this being one of those that not only you have loved, continue to love to introduce people, but if it's the only game they're kind of bringing to the table and it's the game that you're playing on game night,
absolutely,
that's cool.
And what's really great about it is that stuff happens on everyone's turn. So when they roll the dice, everyone can do something, but the player whose turn it is gets to do a little bit more.
So there's not like a pile of downtime.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yep. And you're rooting for different numbers. You're rooting for that player to do well.
So number 9, where are we going from here?
All right.
Now, do you have these in an order of like hierarchy? Are we getting?
Yeah, roughly. I mean, as far as like how I maybe personally enjoy them. The next one's Bonanza.
Bonanza.
Yep. So this is a Uwe Rosenberg game. I think it was one of his first games.
Familiar with it, but never played it.
Yeah,
I am just getting in trouble here, aren't I?
Yeah, you should figure that out because this game is great. It is a game that's very accessible for all ages. It's bean farming, and what's not to love about bean farming?
It's true. No, I mean, I don't love anything better than a good bean farm.
But the idea is that you're going to have cards in your hand, but you can't change the order of the cards. And so when it comes around to your turn, you have to plant the first bean into 2 imaginary bean fields in front of you.
Okay.
And the more beans that you plant of that type, you can cash those in. But the crux of the game is that since you can't modify your hand, there's a trading phase where you're going to flip 2 cards over, and you're going to trade with other players, and you can trade out of your hand.
Okay.
So you're going to want to trade with players to try to manipulate your hand to put them in the order that you want. But because the trading is like very open, it's just really fun. And what really sealed the deal for this is that I like the game, when I played with adults. But when I played with 12, 13-year-olds, I mean, especially people that aren't gamers, they instantly took to it. And it was, just like the stock market. It was basically just people yelling, on the floor,
shouting back and forth, trying to get the right beans into their hand that they can get into their field.
The other thing that's great about this game is that sometimes you might think in a trading game that you always want to make the best deal and you might want to hold back, but in this one the advantage is to trade, right?
Because you're reorganizing your hand, no matter what, getting that reputation of swapping cards.
Well, and just a reputation, right? So as you trade cards to people, there's quite a few rounds of the game, and so there's a lot of reciprocal.
Of course. Hey, I gave you that on round 2.
Exactly.
Remember, I helped you out there, man.
And I love those style of games, and this one works great for all ages. And it has a great theme. If you look, on the back, there's coffee beans. There's
bean or not to bean.
Yeah,
bean farming was never so much fun. That's how the flavor text starts.
And if you like Uwe Rosenberg, I mean, he's a genius. This is no exception from him.
You said it's great. Unlike anything else that he's created.
So. I mean, you've got Polyominoes, and you've got Agricola, and
and then you've got Bonanza.
And you've got Bonanza.
All right. What's number 8? Where are we going?
Early. The next one's going to be Senators.
Senators.
Yeah, this game was really surprising for me because it didn't get a lot of hype.
Indie board and cards. Okay.
Yeah. But this combines a lot of things that I like as far as negotiation.
Blackmail, bidding, and bribery in Ancient Robe.
And in fact, those are the 3 actions you can do.
Okay.
Basically in the game. And so what's going to happen is that you're going to, when you take your turn, you're going to kind of pick between one of those 3. And one is bidding, so you're going to call an auction. Cards are going to come up, and other people are going to bid. Okay. Now, when they bid, they're bidding to buy that. But when everyone's done bidding, you always have the option to buy it for whatever the highest bidder wanted it.
Okay.
And if you don't buy it, then the other bidder has to buy it, and they pay you.
So they are potentially driving up your cost.
Yes.
If you really want the card, but you could also back off and just be like,
and then let them have it.
I'll give it to you for 12 denaries.
Absolutely. And then the second phase, not the second phase, but the other action that you can do is to extort. Because what happens is that when you win cards that way, they don't go into your hand, they go out in front of you. And if you extort, you can go around and you can say, oh, hey, that 5 iron, I'd like to pay you 3 for it, or I'd want 3 for it. So either you give me the card or you have to pay me 3. And so you go around and extort people, and it's fantastic.
So where does this perform the best when you've seen? We have some games that are introductory, right? They're coming to the table through a lens of kind of getting people to the table and also enjoying for a long period of time, but not necessarily deep gamers.
And this is my guilty pleasure.
Okay.
Because this is where a group comes over, I see them playing other bidding games, I see them playing other negotiation games, and I'm like, oh, have you played Senators? And then I kind of rope them in. So this might be a little bit of an exception.
But this is one that you'd say it's maybe a little bit deeper into board games.
Oh, absolutely.
Just a touch deeper, because you are doing some backstabber, you are bluffing and bidding. Probably a little mean. From what
there's an extortion,
But if you enjoy a game that's mean,
this is great.
This is one of your go-tos.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. Okay, what are we doing next?
All right, so Senators Through the Ages.
Through the Ages. Where are we here?
Timeless classic. It was standing up back there.
Oh, it was standing up where? I'm just not... Am I blind? I may in fact be blind.
I don't see it anywhere else. Is it...
Here? There we are.
Okay.
Oh! Here. Oh.
Yeah.
So, we had a little bit of a jump cut because I could not find where this game was. This is super high on BGG's top-rated games. I've always heard that it's high on that list because of the app that's paired with it, though. Because there's a Through the Ages Civilization app as well, and I've heard the ratings are skewed. This being so high on your list makes me wonder if my perception's wrong there.
Well, I've never played it on the app.
Yeah.
It was very high before the app.
Okay.
I think the app it's one of these games where it came out a number of years ago, and the app kept it relevant.
Okay.
Right, because it was high on the list, in the 2000s. And even though I haven't played it on the app, it's one of the things that's always to my chagrin, where the people I play with, they'll play it on the app, and they'll get hundreds of games in, and then I kind of come in.
They're coming skilled.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a great game. You're moving through time, you're building up a civilization. There's all of the push and pull of that. If you over-allocate, then you're going to run into famine, and it's just fantastic. There's too many mechanics to go over, but it's definitely a heavier game.
So what is it that you love about Through the Ages? What are you getting when you get this to the table? What itch is it scratching?
I think the idea is that I'm really enamored about the way that it moves through time. And so you start off in ancient times and you move into the present, and your civilization, instead of just expanding, it's changing. And then you're also looking at the civilizations of other players, and I don't know, there's something magical about it. And I think the other thing is that when I first started playing it, I was so confused. I was so confused reading the rules, and things didn't make sense, but once it clicked, it was magical.
So if someone, based on your list, is trying to get this to the table, what guidance would you give them in order to do that? Because really?
Yeah, I haven't played the app, but I think that if you play the app, then you're going to be much more prepared and kind of understand how the game plays.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Because I am not doing good on your list so far.
That's okay.
I'm going to be honest. I have owned a copy of this for a long time. It is still in shrink.
Wow.
Because I'm scared of it. I'm going to be honest. This is one of those games that I know Civilization. I know the depth that some of these games have, especially the apps. I grew up loving that same progression module.
Sure.
But this, 120 minutes on the side of the box, 2 to 4 players, and from even what I'm hearing from you, you should have a little bit of depth to it to get the most out of it.
Yeah, and it's not for everybody. But if you enjoy the longer games, then it's a great game. And if you enjoy a lot of strategy, because there's so many different ways your civilization can go, and there's so many different ways you can pivot based on what your opponents do. It's great.
Now I'm going to want to go back off camera and play your entire top 10 list with you. I'm going to slide this over that way if you don't mind. And what am I pulling for you now?
Okay, Xia, Legends of a Drift System.
Xia, Legends of a Drift System.
Okay, have you played this one?
I have not played this one.
Okay.
Here's what I'm going to say, though.
Okay.
I have just been playing through the follow-up, not on this, but from Far Off Games, Iridia.
Okay.
Which is the brand new open world sort of adventure role playing. Took 7 years in the making.
What, role playing?
It's on the edge of role playing. It's about as close to role playing as you can get. They have cards and systems that allow you to interact as a personality, and instead of having A, B, C to choose from, you can just have a conversation, and it guides you through how the conversation goes.
Wow.
It's really neat. I Far Off Games, when you're watching this, I have been planning to reach out to Far Off Games and see if we could get access to a copy of this, so that we could do some coverage on it. I really have been impressed with what they've just put out, and so I am excited to have this, sitting in front of me, have this on your list. What is going on here?
So I love sandbox games, and this I think is one of the better sandbox games, and it's also space, and space is always great. What really impressed me was that just how the mechanics really worked together, and they had just really thought out the whole thing. And as you pick your ship, and then based on your ship, there's so many different things you can do. So you can go mine asteroids, you can go explore, you can go trade. If someone's doing really well on trading, you can become a pirate and basically attack their ship. And what's nice about the idea of attacking other ships is that in a lot of games, like, that's really devastating if you lose your ship.
Sure.
But in this game, it's really not that bad. You lose the cubes that you have, and you respawn.
Okay.
The other thing that I thought was really neat is that if you have a lower player count, they have a good automata to go in and fly around, so that there's always a pirate, there's always a trading ship. And so if everyone decided they want to do trading ships, then you still have, you could still be a pirate, and there's going to be someone to hunt you down.
And the AI supplements that experience really well.
Yeah, and I thought they did great.
What player counts do you normally operate this at? Where have you had the most fun with it?
3 and 4.
Okay, and how long of a game experience is it?
They do a pretty good job of on the player board you play to either like a short, a medium, a long game. So I would say it's an hour and a half to 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
something like that.
Full open world experience. This one is incredibly high on my list. One of the ones I'm the most excited about when it comes to kind of old classics coming back and playing. I still haven't played it though.
Yeah, well,
this is why I told you at the beginning of the video, he's got more authority on this than I do. I just make pretty videos. I
would make sure that if you do, you said you have it.
I
would make sure you have the expansion.
Okay.
The Ember Star or something like that, because it fixes a couple of the things where, because of the random tile placement, you could get two systems that one buys and one sells that are really close together. And like one system might buy green cubes and the other system might sell.
Sure.
And so if you're a trader, you can just bot between those. But the expansion adds a market. So if you try to spam a particular type of good, then the value of it's going to go down.
You're throwing off the economy.
Yeah. So I mean, they did a great job in the expansion for it.
I am loving your list. All right, we're going on to number 4, I think, right?
All right. So Twilight Imperium.
Oh, there's going to be a few people clapping off camera. Have you had a game group show up with this being the thing they were going to play while they were here?
Absolutely.
I figured. Because this is the type of place that you dedicate to playing the 6 to 8 hour long campaign that TI can be.
And it's here that I learned to love this game. And I loved it because of the players I was playing with. And I was lucky enough to meet Kyle Vogel, if you're out there, thank you. He came in, he set the game up, he had all of the quick references. He did a great job of kind of chaperoning all of us through it. And I had played it before, but I played, it was like 10 hours, relatively new players. We got it done in, I think, 6 or 7 hours.
Once you have a group that can run this, it can be still long, but efficient in the way it is.
Absolutely. And this one just has high intrigue. There's building spaceship, there's attacking, but then there's also all of the negotiations. There's a voting system. It just has it all.
It's the top level negotiation in this that for me makes it stand out so much. It's actually a pretty efficient game when it comes to like the resource allocation, when it comes to how you're moving. Even the rule set is not so heavy. The 6 hour time frame on it, half of that comes from really good, gritty conversations with people around the table.
And those actions that you select from are so powerful. And, taking the diplomacy card and, putting an activation token on a sector, and then that player can't do anything in that sector, which means they can't move out of the sector, they can't do all these things. There's so much, like rock, paper, scissors in the game.
Yeah.
So whatever you do, there's some way to shut it down. And even though the activation system of how you activate a sector and then everything moves in was a little strange at first, because not a lot of games operate like that, there's a genius behind it. Yeah. There is an absolute genius behind that.
Yeah, this is a you have to experience once at least type of game.
Yeah.
And I've actually played this one.
Okay,
so, so good for me. I've gotten one of these to the table. Good one on the list. All right, where else are we headed? Number 3.
We are going to Gloomhaven.
Gloomhaven.
Yeah, I consider not putting it on my list because it's just so great, and everybody knows it's great.
Sure.
But this one has a little interesting story. When it first came out, it rose really quickly to the top of BGG, but I had been so burnt out on dungeon crawl after dungeon crawl after dungeon crawl that I thought wasn't very good, and so I thought, maybe this isn't that great. And I knew it was number 1, but for some reason there was a hesitation that I thought, maybe not. And so I didn't play it for a long time.
Okay.
And then I finally played it, and my eyes just lit up because I realized this isn't just a dungeon crawler. This is a puzzle race game, right? There's a puzzle with these cards that you play, and you are in a race. So the first time we played it, we're thinking, let's, block this, hallway so things can't come in, or let's block this door. But the problem is, if you play defensive at all, you're going to run out of time. And this game, for the few number of cards that you actually play with, there's a lot of depth to it. And this game was also one of the games that kind of bucked the trend of, typically in games, your players level up, but then you get all of this equipment, and a lot of your power comes from equipment. In this game, your equipment's not all that powerful. It's really focusing on your deck, and then it would be a great game if it didn't have a tenth of the content in it.
Sure.
But the fact that you can...
Jaws of the Lion speaks towards that.
Yeah, and Jaws of the Lion, I didn't think I would like that because of the flip book. But then I started playing with the flip book, and I'm like, this is brilliant. It cuts
really
the
nice.
setup time.
It's really nice. We've been playing through the Jaws of the Lion campaign at the moment. I don't know if I need to say anything about this. You're right on point with the experience of it.
It's fantastic. And, this is one of the games that I normally have the first scenario set up with every group that comes down, because if they haven't played it, I don't want there to be any barriers for them playing it. Sure. And so I've played the first scenario probably 25, 30 times, and I still enjoy it every single time.
That's cool.
And you can switch characters out.
Have you seen groups go from that first scenario to
absolutely
10 games across the weekend? Just they
maybe
continue
not 10,
going.
but
you know what I mean?
Yeah, 4 or 5.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They just dig in there. They probably go home and order a copy of it and continue with the campaign.
Yep.
Very neat. All right, Gloomhaven is number 3. Number 2,
Arkham Horror, the card game.
Ooh, this is not the entire collection.
No, that is not the entire collection.
And behind me, I'm pretty sure you probably have most of it, right?
Yeah, I think I have all of it so far.
Okay.
Thanks to what is it, Team Covenant?
Yeah.
Thank you for sending those subscriptions out, because otherwise it was so hard to
You'd have to
pick them
chase
up.
them all down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Arkham Horror, the card game. What is it you love about this?
I love games, and you'll see this higher on the list. I love games with relatively...
There's only one higher on the list.
2 higher.
2 higher on the list.
Maybe I have 11. Maybe there's an honorable mention.
Ooh, there is an honorable mention.
Okay. So what I love about this...
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, you're right. I'm wrong.
Okay, there we go. It doesn't happen often, but... so with Arkham Horror, what I love is I love games that have relatively simple rules that then expand with card text. So that's, Magic the Gathering is great in that way.
Sure.
Even though it's a relatively complicated game, but it just expands it with
you've gone out of your way for context. You've gone out of your way to make Magic as accessible here as well.
Absolutely.
You've got, I would guess at least 20 pre-built
I think
decks
there's
back
50.
there. 50 pre-built
Well, there's
decks
50
back there.
commander decks, and then there's 60-some 60 card decks.
So you can show up knowing and owning nothing about Magic and
Absolutely.
sit down and really be able to have a great card experience without needing to do the
absolutely.
hunt and search.
And they're all relatively, the same level of power.
This is in that same branch.
Absolutely. And so with this game, it's amazing because you use cards as locations, and so the locations can range, depending on your scenario, from inside of a house, you're moving between rooms, to inside of a town, to a city to multiple universes, and it's just so clever how they do it. And yeah, the mechanics are good. I love games that have stories.
Okay. This does a good job. If you like that Arkham universe,
absolutely.
Does a real good job at that kind of mystery, unknown creepiness.
And it can be punishingly hard.
Yeah.
And it's great. And there's a a couple of scenarios where we lost the campaign, but we lost in such a fantastic way that it was great closure to it.
Nice.
Which normally, doesn't exactly happen like that. So
yeah, sometimes losing can be a little anticlimactic.
But this is one that normally doesn't get played here because it has that campaign setting to it.
Sure.
And but I introduced it to a lot of folks just, the first couple scenarios.
Very cool. Arkham Horror.
Yep.
So that's number 8 if I'm counting
I believe
right.
I should have numbered the list.
Or number 7, number something. That's somewhere
There we go.
on there.
Then we have HeroScape.
HeroScape.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna be back in just a second, right? So we're just gonna shift this here a little bit. We'll move.
So this is a reason why you should put your games on shelves that roll.
We'll tuck that back into the corner.
Yeah.
And then this is your next game.
Yeah. It's a bit excessive, but it is a
So
fantastic game.
tell me about HeroScape.
So HeroScape was a game, I believe it was it Hasbro? With the Wizards of the Coast?
Oh.
Is that right?
HeroScape.
Yep.
Is it Hasbro? I can't
Milton,
tell.
Milton Bradley?
Milton Bradley, which might be the same company. There's no telling.
Yes, Hasbro. There we go. And it came out. I missed it when it originally came out, or at least most of it.
Okay.
But it is a game where you have tile pieces. Tile pieces that interlock with each other, and you build maps.
Okay.
And you build 3D. They stack on top of each other. There's lava, there's ice, there's swamps, all kinds of things. And then you have a point system, so it's very similar to something like Warhammer or just a regular minis game. You spend the point system, you spend the number of points, and then you set up and you go at it. But what's amazing is that terrain makes it, and the powers are great on the figures. It's so much fun.
This is intense. Is this everything? A whole collection? 17?
It is all the characters,
Okay.
and I'm pretty sure all of the major sets. But you need more than one of every set.
In order to run things?
Yeah, I mean to have a giant map and
Sure.
have a good time. But the great thing about this is half of the fun is actually creating the terrain, and then playing on it is just the bonus.
And this is a bit of an older game, right? In the genre of games. Is it
I
still
think it's the
supported at
90s.
all? Anything else coming out around it, or
No, what they did is that the Magic released that Innistrad box. They tried to bring it back under the Magic moniker,
Archetype,
but it didn't go very far.
interesting?
but,
So, if someone was looking to sit down and play this, what would they be getting out of it? What can they expect? It being an older title. I think a lot of times older titles get panned a little bit in context to some of the newer stuff that's coming out.
I would say, what is the 2-player game that came out not very long ago? Unmatched?
Yep.
I would think it's an Unmatched experience, just with more figures. But what a lot of people love about Unmatched is that there's an asymmetry, and so all the different units operate differently.
Yep.
But yet the combat system is relatively simple, and it's a lot of tactical movement, and then hoping the dice go your way.
Cool.
So,
Very cool. This is crazy.
Yeah, it
This
is so fun.
makes me want to come back just to do a featured video on whatever's going on.
Yeah, we could build some maps.
I mean, it'd be a blast. Okay, and I think we have one more left.
Yep.
Which I'm going to need to get a little bit of back support to. So if you
Sure.
just want to start talking about it, I'll
Yeah,
heave
absolutely.
and hoe my way over here.
Okay, so the next game is going to be Sentinels of the Multiverse. So this is
I'm not tipping this sideways either.
yeah.
Because what you can't see is that there's a big old logo on the top here called Sentinels of the Multiverse.
Yep.
This is the collector box, right? This
Yes.
is the big old kind of everything all encompasses. I can do this for you though. I can start showing you a bit of the color and flavor that exists inside of this.
It is. It's just a magical game. This fits into that category of very simple rules. So in this one, you you play a card, use a power, draw a card.
Okay.
So that's it. And all of the card text just makes it amazing. And so in this game, you're basically running a hero, a group of heroes, and you pick a villain, and then you pick an environment. And so I think that I probably have 60 heroes.
And it's superhero based, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's all, is it themed to an IP, or is it all custom original stuff?
No, from my understanding, the creators of it got together, they loved comic books, and they created the universe that they wanted. And so what's really funny about it is at the bottom of every card, they'll have like little sayings, and it'll be reference to, a
With
particular
great
comic
power
book.
comes great tacos, something like that.
Well, or it'll say something like that, but then it'll say like the Wraith, comic issue number 75.
Okay.
So it's referencing these things that in this fictitious universe
would exist,
and it's great. And what makes this really special is the fact that the hold on a second, the character cards are all pre-built decks, and so you don't have to build anything. You just say, "Oh, I'm playing the Wraith," and you grab the Wraith, or "I'm going to play Tachyon."
I've heard people compare it to Marvel Champions in some ways. Think that's a fair comparison, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think that Marvel Champions is still a deck building game where, I mean, well, not deck building, but like deck construction. So you're going through and you're constructing
beforehand. You're prepping what you're going into battle with, whereas this coming in as pre-built, you're playing out the heroes, the scenario, the story, without a lot of that, I guess, forefront when it comes to
absolutely.
And deck construction is actually a mechanic that turns me off from a game.
Yeah, me too.
Quite a bit.
That's one of the reasons with Magic I tried to create all these decks, because I enjoy playing the games, not just sitting at a spreadsheet and calculating, all the odds that a card's going to be.
Why is this at number one for you?
Because I've had the most fun. I've played this so many times with so many groups of people, and it's just a fantastic game. The other thing that is great about this game is that there's incredible third-party support. Okay. So when Greater Than Games, was printing a lot of it, there was a fan group called the Cauldron that made cards and heroes and things that were awesome, and you could buy them through Drive-Thru RPG, or Drive-Thru Cards or something like that, and they were great. And so there's probably 20 extra villains, 20 extra heroes, and Greater Than Games took notice, and they actually licensed them.
That's cool.
And so it's fantastic. Have you played this one?
I haven't. I haven't. I'd really like to.
Yeah,
and I'm here for another 24 hours, so we might have.
Well, we can definitely fit in Quicks. Maybe Senators.
Yeah.
And maybe a couple of the other ones.
Either way, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Let us know in the comment section down below. Have some of these been on your list? Are you happy to see some maybe classics or historic titles come back onto the show? I know there's...
Are these historic titles?
They are for me. I've only been in the hobby for 3+ years, and so a lot of people watching this are consuming new GameFound, Kickstarter, what we produce. And so for me, going back to the games that I never got a chance to play, or that are before when I got into the hobby space, these are older titles for me. These are historic titles for me, and things that I want to play, but, it's sometimes that balance of what's going to get attention and where do you start dedicating your time.
Yeah, so you got to study history.
That's the game. We'll be doing more and more coverage on some of these titles, and I think you and I are actually going to sit down and go through this a little bit more in depth together.
Sure.
So, whatever the case, whatever you do, remember to do the important thing. Get out and play some games. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye-bye.